I'm going inside it, right? Zoom. Nana is working because too much good. I know. I can see it. But I can comment. Also, tell you something.
You are helping all your enemies cause you are rich. I am staying called up. I am staying cause I'm looking for the love you share. Giant, this is I'm gonna make you happy. You can't exhaust me. I am your culture. I make hopes. I am many colors. Texas gonna I believe you the right words. You wanna be on your damn thing. I'm staying
Hare Krishna. I want to welcome us once again for this special memorial service for His Grace, Bali Das. And I think we have enough participants online now, and then we can start this program with all earnest. So to start the event, I will request His Holiness Bhakti Bhanadas Swami Maharaj to help us with our opening prayer.
I think His Holiness Kapsha Maharaj was to speak first.
I have not seen Maharaj online, so that's why. Maharaj has not come online yet, and then we have to start so that we can maximize the time. So I'm hoping if you can give us an opening prayers, then we can go into the next.
Namam Vishnu Padya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Kuchari Nirvisesa Sonya Vadi Pasachada Sachari Om Gyana Timarandasya Gyanam Jana Salakaya Chakshula Militan Jana Taismai Siri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vista Savitande Nabutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahim Bhavati Swapadam Kitam Anyam Sri Guru Sri Taparakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsa Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sapadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakantam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Bhagatpati
Jaya
Untaraga Kansa Namasute Tapakanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisavhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakal Patarubhyascha Kripasindhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanavyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Raj. Hare Krishna. We want to once again welcome all of the devotees who have assembled here for this special occasion. And after the opening prayers, before we commence into this offering of tribute to His Great Bali, according to Vaishnava tradition, when a Vaishnava or a devotee departs, we have a standard prayers which our chariots have sung. So we'll play that song, just about a few minutes of song. Then after that song, we will commence the receipt of tribute from individuals that have assembled here in this occasion. So I will be sharing the music now, the standard prayers for departed Vaishnavas, Jnanilo Premadan. Hare Krishna.
It's better to have it sung online instead of playing music. Hare Krishna, have it sung and then devotees can respond to it. You can hear.
Karuna Anilo Premadhana Karuna Eno Prabhu Kotha Dela Acharya Thakur Eno Prabhu Kotha Dela Acharya Thakur Jayamilo Premadhana Karuna Prachu Jayamilo Premadhana Karuna Prachu Swarup Rupa Sanatan Ahamura Swarup Rupa Sanatan Ahadas Raghu Natha Patita Pava Ahadas Raghu Natha Patita Pava Jayamilo Premadhana Karuna Prachu Jayamilo Premadhana Karuna Prachu घट जुग कहा कबीरा कहा मोरा घट जुग कहा कबीरा एक काले कोठा गिला नटरा एक काले कोठा गिला नटरा नीलो प्रेमाधना करुणा प्रचुर नीलो प्रेमाधना करुणा प्रचुर आशाने घूमती गो माता निधि प्रेमाधना करुणा प्रचुर जयानिलो प्रेमाधना करुणा प्रचुर सब संगीरा संगे जे कोई लोभिला ये सब संगीरा संगे जे कोई लोभिला से संग ना पाया कांडे नरोत्तम से संग ना पाया पांडे नरोत्तम नीलो प्रेमाधना करुणा प्रचुर नीलो प्रेमाधना करुणा प्रचुर हेनो प्रभु कोठा गिला आचार्य नीलो प्रेमाधना करुणा प्रचुर नीलो प्रेमाधना करुणा प्रचुर नीलो प्रेमाधना
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to all of the devotees. We want to use this opportunity to welcome those who have just joined onto this auspicious memorial program for His Grace Bali Prabhu, who left us recently. We just listened to the traditional Vaishnava memorial song, and we want to make this short announcement for all of those who are on this platform now. We will request that if it is not impossible, we request that we all put on our camera so that we can see the faces of everyone on the platform for this occasion. We humbly request that please kindly put on your video if it is possible, unless otherwise. Thank you very much. As we all know, this special service, online services, put together to glorify our dear brother, His Grace Bali, who we love so dearly, but whom the Lord has decided to take into another environment for another service. And in tradition, we are putting this ceremony together to glorify his contribution to the development of devotional service in his own individual life and how he has touched every other person's life. Because this program is an online one and it has a limitation of time, we will not have the traditional ceremony, which would have been with so many of the rituals. So we simply are going to be taking tributes, mainly from everyone who has joined. I know that the list that I have with me is so huge, and I'm wondering how we can cover those lists in 2 hours. But we'll try as much as possible to give everyone here opportunity to be able to say one thing or the other in glorification of His Grace Bali Prabhu'S contribution to Krishna consciousness development in West Africa and in the world globally. If you're taking much of your time, we expect, according to our program, His Holiness His Holiness Swami Maharaj to start the speech for today. But somehow or the other, for whatever reasons, Maharaj is not here now. So therefore, we will start the taking up the tribute from His Holiness Bhakti Damodara Swami. So Maharaj, please can you unmute and then lead us?
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today we are remembering our dear brother, Salika Prabhu said. His Grace Bali Das Prabhu. For us to exhaustively speak about Bali will take a long time, and we have only a short time to speak about him. So I will not say for too long. I'll just say a few things, and then we will have our own program for him here in Lagos, where we'll have much time to exhaustively enumerate some of the wonderful activities Bali Das Prabhu has performed. Or let me say, how he has uplifted ISKCON in West Africa. In particular, he did for all the world, because I know he has sponsored so many programs in South America. He has sponsored so many programs in India. He has sponsored ISKCON program in many places and facilitated many devotees in their Krishna consciousness one way or other. Particularly for me, in 2003, I was going to India to do Bhakti Sastri. I have no money, but I went there. I didn't pay for the fees for Bhakti Sastri, but I went there. I also have no money to pay for the rent that I was going to stay. My visa was 6 months. So I'm going to stay there for 6 months. There's no money to pay rent for the 6 months. There's no money to pay for the feeding for the 6 months. There's no money also to pay for my fee to do the Bhakti Sastri. And fortunately for me, I didn't plan it. And by Christian mercy, Bali Prabhu was there. So when I went to India, he came. A few days after I arrived there, he came after that. And he came up to me and he said, "Oh, Prabhu, you're here." I said, "Yes, I came for Baptist Street." He spontaneously asked me how much I told him. I have never mentioned this, but Prabhu paid me more than the money for the fees for Baptist Street cost. So he paid me more than the money. So I use that to pay for the fees, and I use that to pay for the accommodation, and I use that to do the parikramas which I did. I was doing parikrama every day for the 6 months I was there. It was Balidas Prabhu's costless mercy, his generosity, his support that I was able to do all that. So I will say that I succeeded in studying the scripture because of Bali Prabhu. For me as a person, not about the numerous things he did for the whole world. For me as a person, I'm speaking, what he did for me. So, and it was a requirement for taking sannyas that time. That means that today I'm existing as a sannyasi because of Bali for what he did. And then before I went for that, I was having also a hernia which I never knew it was hernia. And I suffered for it for many years until it was discovered it was hernia. It was Bali who sent me to his hospital, Lagoon Hospital in Apapa. So I went there to do the test and it was confirmed it was hernia. He paid for it. He paid the cost. It's expensive. He paid everything. He did the test, he paid for it, and he paid for the operation and everything else that was necessary. He paid. So something that would have taken my life. So I would say that I'm existing, I got cured from that because of Bali. So I'm existing not because of the wonderful support from Bali. Prabhu. And when I took up the service of managing the Lagos temple in 2000, after so many years, there was nothing to start managing a temple. There were 15 devotees in the temple, a big temple, expenses 150,000 that time. 150,000 to take care of the minimum to take care of the temple that time. So it was also, and I didn't know where to begin because I was managing for a long time. And for me to start managing a big temple like that, with all the construction work that was pending and the feeding the devotees and everything, it was for those of us who have managed, we know what it means to take such service from zero. So for me to start whatever I did for that time, it was valuable. Who supported, sponsored. It was that time that he started the Universal Harinam that spread all over. So he started the Harinam. He came on Sunday to the temple, and after the Sunday feast class, and he called for the meeting. Everybody stayed back, and he started organizing. We're going to do Harinam, and he bought shoes for all the devotees that time. He bought the dresses for the devotees. He bought the Sankirtan bag, and he provided all the facilities that were needed to start the Harinam. That is how Harinam started in Lagos. And then gradually, when His Holiness Tabishama arranged for us to get 2 buses from Germany. And those buses came. One was in a better condition, and the second one was not so much in the better condition. When we finally got it, and Gurudev told me, His Holiness Tabishama told me, if you use these buses nicely, Krishna will give you more. So we took that instruction very seriously, and we started taking care of those 2 buses. As I said, one was not so good. So we disposed that to fix the one that was very good, which served for many years. Truly, as Gurudev said, we started using that bus like that, taking care very nicely. Not quite long, His Grace Bali Prabhu came and supplied buses for whole West African temples. Every temple were having a bus. Of course, many temples didn't maintain it because they didn't follow what Gurudev said. But Bali, he did something by giving buses to all the temples, which was, it was a dream for a temple in West Africa having a bus. Gurudev said, tell all the devotees they should not use it to run around the city, they should use it for Harinam, for preaching, as Bali Prabhu gave the bus for. So we can see from all these just few things that I have mentioned, there are many, they are unlimited. But the few things I said, you can see the interest of Bali have to push Krishna consciousness in himself. It's a intense desire to push ISKCON in West Africa, to push the preaching. I also remember one day when he declared, ISKCON West Africa is going to take the whole world like this. I still remember the sentiment, like this. And it was not just an empty statement. He did. He made a lot of effort. There were so many things that he did to push on Krishna consciousness, to spread Krishna consciousness. What about the books? He brought in so many books to the country. I'm sure we should have some of the books. We should have some of the books. For many years, he brought a lot of books and supported. That is how we started going to the street. Haranam was there, Sankirtan was dead. He revived everything. I was pushing everything. This one is just the latest one. If I have to go back to our Brahmachari life and all the temples and so we will speak about that one. So let me just focus on this one. What he has done to me as a person, and for the movement for this short time. It is unlimited. But what about the program having the Bhakti Vrisha in his house, and he turned the whole house into a temple, and the devotees started coming. He was controlling the whole country in Krishna consciousness, which was a history that has not happened. And then, if you go to Vrindavan today, go to the popular market, Loi Bazaar, every single person knows Balidas. Where is Balidas? Where is Balidas? Because they have never expected that a person from third world country, Africa, which is considered a poor person, a poor country, will come and spend the amount of money that he spent. It is a dream for people till today. Just go to Alai Bazaar, everybody knows Balidas. When you come to the temple, I'm sure you have so many of the paraphernalia he brought from India. Huge warehouses to buy these items. He flooded Krishna consciousness and flooded West Africa with Krishna consciousness. So I don't want to go too far. So other words, have many things to say. So I will stop here. Like I said, we'll have our own special time where we will exhaust ourselves fully and appreciating what Balida did for us, particularly in West Africa. Hare Krishna. His Grace Balida Prabhu Ki Jai.
His Balidas Prabhu Ki Jai. His Holiness Bhakti Damodara Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for this wonderful declaration of Bali's Prabhu's activities. Time is very limited, and who will request our devotees to please kindly watch the time when they start presenting their tributes, giving average of about 5 minutes to each person to speak, so that we can accommodate as many persons as possible. Like Maharaj has said, we can at least dedicate a whole 1 month. It is not enough to glorify the activities of the Grace Bali Prabhu. So, but just for this occasion, we will appreciate the time. So next, I'll call on His Holiness Bhakti Vasudev Swami to please kindly give us to go to Bali. His Holiness Bhakti Vasudev Swami Maharaj, please kindly unmute.
Omagana Tamirana Sagana Janasaka, Saxorum Letum, Jana Tasmai Sekobe, Wanchaka Patalia Biacha, Crepason Bia, Patitan, Washington Biona Monoma. So, I like to appreciate what the details from the last speaker is doing is back to the Damodar Swami. Bali has been someone that it's difficult to match anyone in our movement with Bali globally. And not only was he very interpersonal and caring for devotees' welfare and spreading the preaching, but let's look at it. He is someone who is multi-talented. He's a musician. He's a musician. And he was also one time he was also the president of the, a musical organization right there in Nigeria. And I listened to the track that he debuted, and it was so innovative. You see, our Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Swami Maharaj, he had, when he was coming to Africa in the early days, he had, I don't know, some majority of people must have forgotten, but he emphasized so much in his class about innovation. He would tell us, innovate, innovate, innovate. And Bali is one of those persons who had executed that order to the utmost. Look at what he did with the non-profit that he established. He called it Gurupad. And through that, people were chanting Gora's name, Lord Gauranga's name, without themselves knowing what they are doing. And practically, people were joyfully doing that. He used that also in his musical exploration. And people were joyfully chanting the holy names. They didn't need to come, we didn't need to convince them to come to the temple, but they were chanting the holy names. He was one of those innovators I have seen in our movement globally. And because of his high intelligent quotient, he could do one thing to be able to serve multi-purposes. So we have lost a giant. We have lost a warrior of proof courage. And it's only Krishna who knows why he does what he does by taking him away. But then the point is that he was someone that that basically is matchless. He was a matchless preacher, a matchless innovator, and a highly intelligent devotee of the Lord. Krishna specifically sent Bali to Nigeria, to West Africa, to leverage the preaching there. And apparently Krishna has seen that his work, what he has asked him to come to do, he's done it, and Krishna took him away. We feel sad for that, but we are happy that Krishna was so merciful to that part of the world where finance was a big problem, and he sent someone to come and help us. Sriman Bali Prabhu Ki Jai.
Thank you very much, His Holiness Bhakti Vasudev Swami. Please, actually, as we call on the speakers to speak, ideally, I'm supposed to give a kind of a background introduction of the speakers. But because of the time constraint, I'll plead that you forgive my not properly introducing the speakers. The last two speakers, the first speaker is the leader of the Article in West Africa, is Holiness Bhakti Damodar Swami, and Holiness Bhakti Vasudev Swami is one of the pioneering disciple of our spiritual master, Bhakti Swami Christopher. Is presently in India, in Mayapur, and he was one of those who were there when Bali joined the movement. Please permit me to just mention names, because if I want to start introducing each and every one, it will take a whole lot of time. Please kindly permit me. Thank you very much for going back to Vasudev Swami for that wonderful contribution and presentation. I will call on the next person on the line to give tribute to His Great Bali Prabhu, and I'll be calling on His Holiness Bhakti Vishnu Swami. Bhakti Vishnu Swami is one of our senior God brothers who is presently initiating Guru, is based in Syria alone, and he has had a whole lot of wonderful constant activities with his Great Bali Prabhu. So for Holiness Bhakti Vishnu Swami, please kindly unmute and give your contribution.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timrata Sajjana Jana Sarabhya Sattvamanitam Nasma Namaha. Namo Vishnu Karya Krishna Presaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Kittvamiti Namne Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Satmane Shri Gaura Karuna Namo Vishnu Karya Krishna Presaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Kamiti Namne Namaste Sarvasudeve Gaura Panchasarya Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Sattvamane. So I'm very happy to be here. My best wishes to His Holiness Bhakti Damodar Maharaj, best wishes to His Holiness Bhakti Vasudev Maharaj, best wishes to His Holiness Krishna Maharaj, all the devotees and Prabhu'S and Matajis. Yes, as the two speakers have already said, we have lost someone very, very dear to us. Well, even though we say we are not the body, but that for Bali Prabhu is really, really painful. Yeah, because we are going to lose many things from him. His kindness, his support, and every aspect. I can say that personally, Bali Prabhu made me. Many people does not know that he was my mentor in terms of preaching in Sankirtan. I remember in 1992, he came to Ivory Coast. I was still very young. So he took me to Togo, to train me in Sankirtan. I don't know what it's called Sankirtan those days. So he personally came and took me from Ivory Coast to Togo. Those years, there was no temple in Togo. Was staying with one devotee's in-person house. So he showed me different Sankirtan techniques. I can remember too. He would take me and we take a book, a bag full of books, and he doesn't go to 4 areas for his Sankirtan. He goes to big places like big hotels, airports, banks. When you go, he will go and sit where people are like waiting for the plane or waiting for meeting. So he will open his bag and display all the books on the table as if pretending to look for something on the bag. Then people will be curious and looking at the books, and with psychology, you will observe that people are looking at the book, then you will push the books to them. Then the discussion starts. Sometimes also, you will, on the street, you will stop somebody, anybody in the street, and they will say, you ask please, do you know where this temple of yoga therapy? So, no, we don't know yoga therapy. Well, actually, I'm a professor of yoga. I'm teaching yoga, and I'm trying to open a center here, and I want someone who can help me. So like that, and from that, the person will get interest. Oh, you do yoga? Okay, then from there, the discussion starts, and before you know, you're already giving a book to that person. That's why I was enjoying the time with him. And as the others have said, Bali, Prabhu, see, sometimes when we are living with someone, we don't know, we forget what is called past life and like it. So we don't actually know where Prabhu is coming from. Actually. Many
Yeah, muted.
okay.
Another, can you unmute yourself? I was trying to mute Sarah when I was making.
Okay.
Right, go
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
yeah,
you can speak now.
Yes. Okay. So he did so many things. I remember we are having some, we got some books, 5,000 books, also by his grace Prabhu'S Prabhu from America, that we are having some difficulty to clear the books. So when Bali Prabhu had us, immediately arranged for some money. And when we started the West African Harinam, he asked me, do you have a temple in Ivory Coast? I said, yes. And he asked me, where is the temple located? Those years, the temple was located in the area. So when I explained to him, I said, okay, let's find another place because we need to attract intelligent people. So he sent money for us to go and take a temple and another place, better place. And like that, I also met him in, I think, some years back in India. So, in India, as Bhakti Maharaj always said, there is always you have to buy this accommodation, traveling, parikrama, within the morning all the time. But I met Bali Prabhu in Vrindavan. I was even struggling to survive that day. So when I met him, I said, Krishna sent him to me. So he said, okay, Prabhuji, this is your pocket money. This pocket money is like opening an account, big pocket money. So I took that money and helped you for accommodation, for traveling to different pilgrim places, something like that. So actually, and also in the one time Gora Purnima, for the first time of the history, Africa also had a booth in Mayapur. It had a lot of effect and was sponsoring devotees from not only from Africa, but from America, from India, from everywhere, all part of the world. In Mauritius, in South Africa, everybody knows him. Actually. So yes, we are making this tribute today, but actually it will be difficult for us to forget someone like Bali Prabhu. So the only thing we can do to please him is to try to make the best use of the facilities at least he has provided to all temples. Maybe we still have some few buses or the places that sponsored, we still have to make best use of those things so that he can be happy whatever he is. And we can pray to him that we can have more Bali Prabhus like him. We cannot replace him with his past, but we pray that from whatever he is, he can still continue to help us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, His Holiness. That is how this is Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. His great value for the Jai. So thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. because wasting so much of the time, I'll call on the next person. We're supposed to be hearing from Srivas Vanachari now, but I've not seen him online. I guess some that engagement is kept in by my schedule here. So I will be calling on the next person while we wait for Grace Srivas Vanachari to come online. So I'll call on Ishwara Prabhu. Ishwara Prabhu is one of also pioneering devotee in the beginning days of ISKCON in Nigeria. He is presently in India, in Vrindavan. He's been there for several decades, and is one of the very strong associates of his great Bali Prabhu. So Ishwara Prabhu, please kindly unmute and let's hear your keynote. Ishwara Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Everybody can hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Gurave Gurachandraya, Radhikaya Tadalaya, Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya, Tad Bhaktaya Namo Nama, Vanchakapatrubhyascha Kapasya Pati Tano Bhavana Vibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Nama. So this is a very sombre day that we're having a memory for Bali Prabhu. And of course, unexpected, because majority of us were on this platform. Here now, many of us are older than him. So usually it's not, it's kind of unusual that for a younger person to leave the planet before the elders. But, and of course, Krishna has his way. And his ways, nobody can question that. Krishna is supreme will. To me, Savi Surishware, Brajendra Kumara, Tomara Icha Visveshinjam Samhara. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was singing that, yes, my dear Lord Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, you are the supreme controller of all the controllers, and your will is the supreme will. So what can ordinary jiva do? They may make so many plans. Still, Krishna's will is the supreme will. Even a living entity, a jiva cannot even lift, his hand without Krishna's will. But somehow, out of our own force ego, we are thinking we are doing, me with this aham that I am. So, by Krishna's supreme will, his will is the supreme, his plan is the supreme. So Krishna has a very purpose for taking Bali away. So I remember when I first saw Bali, actually it was, I was just coming from Zimbabwe. This was 1983. I was just coming from Zimbabwe and I was on my way to USA. At that time, Prabhu'S had called me from Zimbabwe that, okay, you need to come to, you need to go to USA and do some fundraising for the movement in West Africa. So I came down and I was in Lagos for like 2 weeks. And that's the time I first saw Bali. He was a young man, about I think around 18. So that time, Chandrasekhar Prabhu had brought him to the temple that time. But previous to that, Bali, he actually got introduced to the movement when he was in England, that he was in school there in England. That's where he was introduced to the movement. But, so he was very, very attracted to the Hare Krishna movement. I think he was living in the temple that time in England. But his father, he wanted to take him away from that. So he brought him to Nigeria. That was his son, to be involved with this whole non-organization. So he was brought to Nigeria, but for Krishna's, according to Krishna's own arrangement, because Bali is naturally a spiritualist. So And the person who was teaching him karate happened to be Chandrasekhar Prabhu, because his father had hired Chandrasekhar Prabhu to teach Bali karate. Chandrasekhar Prabhu is one of our earliest devotees. We are together around from 1979. So this was like automatic thing that, Bali came to know that Chandrasekhar is a Krishna devotee. Immediately they just came to the temple, to Lagos temple. And of course, I left Nigeria, so I didn't know anything about his activities later on. But when I was in Kenya in 1996, and that time I was in Kenya for like 4 months in Kenya. So when I was there in Kenya, so many of our members there, especially the Indian members, they were saying, "Oh, where's that devotee, Bali?" Everybody was actually present. Where's Bali? Where is Bali? Bali Das. Because Bali Das, when he was there, I think when he was running away from Nigeria to try to hide himself away from his father, because he was being prevented from being part of the movement. So he was still in different part of the world, in different temples. And then he had come to Kenya to stay there for some time. So while he was there, he was making deities. He was making Jagannath deity for so many families. And they were also pleased with that. So when I was there, everyone was asking me, "Oh, where's Bali? Where's Bali? Where's Bali? Where's Bali? Is he coming back? Is he coming back?" So, and of course, I said Bhagavad Gita, the Suchina Shimatangihe, Yoga Brasta Pujayate, that an unsuccessful yogi will do things. When an unsuccessful yogi, when he dies, the next life, that unsuccessful yogi will either take birth in the family of highly transcendentalist or in the aristocratic family. So Bali actually fit in that category. He fit in that category of someone who was born in that, because of the previous credit. So he took birth in the highly, famous transcendental and aristocratic in West Africa. But at the same time, even though he was born as an aristocratic, in an aristocratic family, he became a spiritual process never really stopped. He became spontaneously attracted to spirituality. He would tell me a few times here in India, he would tell me how he met the devotees in England, and then he would tell me about different devotees who were always cultivating him. So he was spontaneously attracted to spirituality, even though he was born with so much wealth and all that. So you can see, even my experience with him, that wealth which he was born in, that never really, covers so much his mentality of the spiritual, involvement. I'm sure many devotees there could testify in Nigeria how he was living in the temple as a brahmachari. It was very, very simple. Another living in a very simple environment, even though he was, somebody who was working from a family of privilege, such a privileged background. But at the same time, also he was living very, very simply. There were a few times that he had come here to India, he never really, lived any extravagant life. When he came here to Vrindavan, when he came to Vrindavan, I remember it was around 2002. So he had come to Vrindavan, and then that time I arranged an accommodation for him to stay in MVT, which is it's a nice accommodation arrangement for the Western devotees, because I was also living there. So I make arrangement with him that we could stay there, and the manager, he was, he gave a very, very nice price to stay in MBT, which is very, very, it wasn't expensive. But Bali, he didn't want to stay there. He stayed there for a few days, 2 days, 3 days, and then he left. I asked him, I said, Bali, where are you staying? He said, oh, I'm just staying in this simple ashram. I didn't want to. It's not that he didn't have money to stay there. To him, it's like, why would I, spend so much money, staying in a nice place? So to him, it's like he came, he went to, he was purchasing so many items, to send to West Africa. Fortunately, I was able to assist him in terms of getting him the large numbers of Bhagavad Gita. We had purchased like 5,000 the pocket Bhagavad Gitas, which was sent there to Nigeria, and so many other items. He bought so many midangas, and many things like that, which was sent there. And of course, as he told me that, okay, this is all meant for for the temple. He's going to give them, and he also bought many paraphernalia so that he can give to the temple shops, and the temple shops, they can give him money after they sell them, and of course, according to him, the 2 day item the temple mostly usually they never really pay back, but that didn't bother him anyway, because to him he simply see how to help the devotees, how to help the movement, and when this Harinam, which started many years ago, when he started this Harinam, and it was rewarding the devotees who were doing the Harinam. So I asked him that, why are you rewarding devotees? Let them take part in the Harinam. He said, no, because if I don't reward them, devotees, they will have so many excuses why they don't want to go on the Harinam. So he started this thing of rewarding devotees, giving them money, giving them players and all that. On top of all that, he brought them to India. He brought more than about 50 devotees to India which was never done before. He brought them to India, and they coming to India, the accommodations, they traveling all over India. They went to South India. They went many days. Also came to Vrindavan, many places. He gave them all the facility to come, which was not a small expenses. And then I remember I took him to one sannyasi that he is Bali, and he has bringing so many devotees from West Africa to experience the Holy Dam. So the Swami replied, said, "Oh, you must be very, very rich." Bali said, "No, I'm not rich. This is just a service to help the devotees to engage in the in the movement." And then the following year he also brought the devotees from South America, which is even much more expensive than bringing the devotees from West Africa, because he had a vision, he had a worldwide Harinam vision. So which means the Harinam, is his heart. He wanted to, spread the Harinam, all over the world. That was his vision. He had a big map. He was saying that, we're going to have, he had a big design of how Harinam is going to be. It's going to be like, and he was having some design for Europe, from some South America, from, of course, India. And also he already had representatives in many places like that. And he's doing all these things with his own resources, with his own fund, And of course, Bali, he has done his work actually is what we call selfless work. And also being selfless is like also people, he really gets credit for his work. He very rarely get appreciation for his work. So which means he did what he did without even expectation of people, being grateful for what he did what he did for them, because most people they were not, but he just did it out of because this is just he see that as his mission. So therefore, his passing, even though it's very, very painful to many of us, because I was expecting him to come back, and I remember the beginning of this year, I was talking with him because after he had that initial illness, so I was telling him that, look, you should just forget whatever you have to do and just come back. Your prime duty should be your health. That should be your prime duty right now. You take time off, you take care of your day, you can come here to India and just look after your health. And then the other day he was planning about some, some Harinam activities. He was even making a plan this week, this year. I said, no, Bali, don't take your time off. Just focus on your health, But apparently, activities of Krishna conscious movement is much more important to him than his own personal health. So anyway, I'm sure his destination, it's not his, it's very, very bright destination. What he has done so much of a huge Agyata Sukriti, huge Agyata Sukriti. Right now, Bali is a much higher planet. It's not in any situation, it's a much higher planet. And there, is situated, and so of course it's up to the Lord where you want him to, especially if the Lord want him to again take part in the Sankirtan movement, that is up to the Lord. But right now, Bali is a far better place, far higher place than we can actually imagine. Because he took advantage of that credit which he had as an unsuccessful yogi in the previous life. He really made use of that. So which means his next progress is very, 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 very high progress. So that's what, and that's what much I can say now. So, I'm sure, okay, so every devotees, they can testify to that. So anyway, I'm very, very happy that I'm able to say something. So, Bali Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu ki jai. Thank you very much, Mr. Prabhu. Thank you very much for that. I know that if given the time, each and every devotee can speak for like 4 or 5 hours continuously without stopping, narrating Prabhu Bali's contribution to the development of consciousness in West Africa, especially, and in the whole world. But once again, we want to request devotees to please kindly try to be conscious of the time so that we can give opportunity to as many devotees as possible. So before calling the next person to come, I just want to share this. We know that Srila Prabhupada has a very favorite verse he quotes in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 6th canto, chapter Bhagavad Pradipam. Prabhupada always quotes that verse very oftenly to explain the uncommon activity of personalities that comes into the world. He said that no one actually can expand or preach the path of Krishna consciousness or God consciousness unless he has some special empowerment by Krishna. And that is the case of Prabhu Bali. We can see it clearly. Prabhupada there's a nice part from Prabhupada I was listening to just a few days ago. And the Prabhupada was explaining to his first set of disciples, our spiritual masters. He was telling them that he thank you to the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati for sending all of them to him to help to expand Krishna consciousness. And devotees were asking, Prabhupada, but how can you say we are sent by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Krishna to help you expanding Krishna consciousness when we were born in a low family, in a family of dog eaters? How can this be? And Prabhupada said, that is the external arrangement, but no one can be attracted and spontaneously take to the path of Krishna consciousness unless being pre-designed by Krishna and his representatives. So we know Bali Prabhu is such a special soul who has appeared among us to do this wonderful service. I'll call on the next person. There are so many devotees here. Time is limited, but I will request that we try to minimize time. I have 2 devotees now who I want to call simultaneously, but I think let me give the time to His Grace Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu to please give his tribute now. Sriman Vara Prabhu is also one of the pioneer devotees in Nigeria. He has moved to several countries in West Africa. Presently, he's in Togo, Lomé, where he is expanding the scope of Krishna consciousness teaching in the French country. So, Sima Vara Prabhu, please kindly unmute and please kindly be mindful of the time. Thank you. Sima Vara Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Krishna.
Am I audible?
Yeah, very.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Kalakaya Shakshu Malikam Ge. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupadasya Tatmani Sri Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Iti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pushini. Vanchakalpatarubhyacha Kripasindhyavacha Pachitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Tate Nukampam Susamisha Mano Bunjana Hevatma Kritama Vidada Namaste Jivitayo Mukti Pade Sadaya Bahak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your costly while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, chapter 14, text 8. So, my Dandavat Pranam to all assembled devotees. This verse that I just recited is very pertinent to Bali Prabhu. We could see how throughout his life, he was patiently awaiting the Lord's mercy through his numerous activities that we've been hearing about. And now that he has passed on, it is certain that he is eligible for liberation. That we can testify. I have had a long relationship with Bali Prabhu, very cordial, very intimate, personal relationship. We have worked together many times. The Ibadan temple in Nigeria, he happened to stay some time with me there. And his father came looking for him there at once, his father and his mom. And the father had already entered into the temple. I mean, somebody brought him in before I. And of course, he didn't really like it. But like everyone had said, Bali Prabhu transcended the kind of family he was born into. And we've already learned that he had the opportunity to have such a noble birth due to his past life. And he took advantage of it. But I think you all know also that the scripture says, birth in a noble family or rich family, high education, beauty, and these things their assets can be they can be advantageous for spiritual life, and they can also be impediments. And we know how they can become impediment. I think they don't, that there's nothing more than that. When you have bodily beauty, high birth in an aristocratic family, people think there's nothing more than this. And, you know, they become conditioned by that. But that is not the case of our dear God brother, Bali Prabhu. He had all these advantages and he used them 10% in the service of the Lord. Very elevated soul who was not conditioned by material assets. This same thing that he had, many give up the path of devotion just going to be able to have these same things, which he has, and he just, you know, surrender at the feet of the Lord. I would think that I also want to contribute a little bit that I know. Of course, most of the things he did were known to many people, but his contribution to the preaching in Togo. One of the previous speakers already said how he brought him to Togo to preach. But then it so happened the year 2000, by that time, there was no temple. Oh, wait, 2000, yes. There was no temple yet in Togo. But then in Europe, the BBT had some French books locked up in some magazine. And thinking of where to send those books. So there was some internet discussion going on between the leaders of Ishkan. And luckily, Konteya Prabhu was around and he let me in into that discussion and asked whether we could provide, you know, some storage for these books and whether we could use them. And of course, I said yes. There's a lot of books. So should be sent to West Africa and Central Africa. And then when these books were donated, they were to be removed clearly from the magazines. Otherwise, if they don't, they're going to burn them because and then our leaders, our gurus, Kavichandra Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, they donated money for the shipment of these books. There and those who had the storage of the books, they were wondering what's happening. So they contacted me again, but the money is still remaining $4,000 before we could ship these books. And they directed they started addressing this matter. So I had nothing to do but to resort to Prabhu Bali. And I let him know they needed $4,000 for this books to come to Africa. Can you help? 2 containers of 40 feet, 2 containers of books, Bhagavatam, Ishopanisa, Prabhupada books all came down to Togo. Where?
I think Prabhu's network is fluctuating.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
you're not hearing me well?
Breaking up.
Are you still hearing me well or no?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
I can change. Yeah. I can go ahead. So these books came anyway. It took us 3 million safer to be able to clear those books. Of course, that we were able to raise locally. But if not for Prabhu Bali, those books wouldn't have left Europe to come down here. So that was one of his contributions to another country, to Togo, and for the benefit of French countries, because all those books were distributed into many, many countries. So that was one of his contribution, which also should be in record. Lastly, without taking so much time, I have two more points to add. One was is the opening of his temple in Apapa, which somehow or the other I was instrumental. For one good year, I was going to Lagos from Togo every week to help to pioneer the preaching for that temple to be opened. And when the temple was finally opened, it was really big. And we were all happy that we were able to realize that project together. He would always want me to be part of whatever he wanted to do. If I could not, he wanted my advice always, which I always, try to give my best. So, for many, many times. And of course, like Ishwara Prabhu said, Bali Prabhu had a global vision. Anytime he was talking with me, he was always showing me his global plan. He was always showing me his global plan. A map or whatever, hope not lost track. Are you hearing me, Prabhu Salika?
Yes,
Hare
you're
Krishna.
hearing. Yes.
Okay. So, like I was saying, he had this global plan all the time. In fact, sometimes I'm lost because I just couldn't cope with his global plan. But he had the capacity. He had everything to do it. And he really did as much as he could. Now, what is the last point I want to make? I believe that Lord Krishna really sent Bali Prabhu to help our preaching in West Africa. But I regret to say that we probably did not take enough advantage. Not I mean, he was spending his money for what he did, but I would say that there was no synergy. But not happened from such contribution that he was making. We could have had a lot more happening, which could be in his record of his contribution than we have today. So I will use this opportunity to try to have synergy in our activities. What does synergy mean? Means that 2 or 3 people working together with a common goal and common vision, and all of them cooperating together. The result will be more than what 3 people could produce. But if you have 3 people working together, working and for the same mission, but everyone doing his own thing, then the result will not justify the presence of 3 people. So Bali Prabhu and his accomplishment and his resources, if we had been working together in synergy, I think West Africa would have been just what we're talking. I regret that fact. I regret it very much. Now that he's gone, we know we have lost somebody. But when he was alive, how much did we take into account what he has to offer? Many people benefited personally. Collectively, what can we show that this is the result of Prabhu Bali?
Hare Krishna.
Than what they are doing today. All right. Thank you very much for the time given to me to speak. I don't want to take much time. All glories to Bali Prabhu Ki Jai. All glories to West African Sankirtan Mission. All glories to Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for this wonderful narration of Pastor to Bali Prabhu. Time is our major constraint here. I know all the devotees want to speak, and I still will keep appealing that we make it a little brief as much as possible. His Grace Srivas Vanachari is here. I called him earlier on. His Grace Srivas Vanachari is the supervisor for the West African Yatra, or the West African ISKCON movement. We were expecting him to speak earlier. Now he's joined us. So we'll call on Srivas Vanachari to please unmute and then give his contribution to Prabhu's Bali study. His Grace Srivas Prabhu. His Grace Srivas Vanachari Prabhu. Okay. I think he's ready. While we wait for him, I have three devotees I want to call in sequence. Atmaram Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I think there are so many guests there. I understand that this program is being shown on the live TV, so that many devotees could benefit from the Yatra in Ghana. So we'll wait for them to organize the machines there so that you can properly hear Grace Srivas Vanachari. But meanwhile, so that because of the time limit we have, I will want to call on His Grace Chanakya Pandit Prabhu. Chanakya Pandit is one of us, one of our senior devotees, was Business Secretary for Nigeria. At the time, he served in different capacity in the Yatra. He's presently based in the United States of America. He is one of very close associates of His Great Bali Prabhu. We did a whole lot of wonderful activities together. Chanakya Pandit Prabhu, please kindly go ahead and let's your contribution.
Hare Krishna.
Chanakya Pandit Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Magyan Timirandasya. Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshomalitam Jana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. My obeisances to all the wonderful devotees of West Africa and the world. It is quite heart-rending, to think about what goes on a daily basis, and they're happening in such a speed that we can't actually catch up with the speed of these happenings. And one of such things is the passing of Bali Prabhu. Of course, we cannot say it's not expected. We're living on a borrowed time, all of us. Most of us are past 50 years, and therefore living on borrowed time. So every devotee must consider himself in line of passing away, every devotee. So in the little time I had some intimate relationship with Bali Prabhu, I could deduce so many things from his personality. Yes, most people know that Bali Prabhu had so much resources, material resources, so much privileged in terms of material resources. And also he was using his material resources based on his various visions as to how to expound the Krishna consciousness movement, especially in West Africa. But little do we really see into his various frustrations, various strugglings, his level of loneliness, his level of depression, we hardly see these things. Unless you come very close and intimately relate with him, you can't see these things. Only thing you can see is just the affluence, the external. But very unfortunately to say, Bali Prabhu was actually very, very frustrated in his personal life. That I could see. He was struggling between various odds, extreme odds. At one point, he found himself to be among the elite in the society we find ourselves. On the other hand, he was so intimately associated with an organization that is down low in the society, not known an organization that is considered even in the society to be odd, not to be in the mainstream. And this happened to be his greatest, I can say, frustrations. He had a desire to actually bring the movement in our society to a level whereby it becomes the mainstream of the society so that it can properly belong. You can imagine his situation. On one side, he's associating with the rich class in the society, and also is associated with an organization that is not anywhere recognized in our society. How frustrating that could be. So all these programs amongst the devotees in Nigeria, especially, and West Africa in general, is simply to try to uplift the devotees to the height whereby they could actually measure up in the society. All these programs is try to bring the movement to a level whereby he can really appreciate and also be enthused to say that he belongs to certain organization in society. And that was his mainstream preaching activity. But in his Sankirtan, the way he modified his Sankirtan preaching, the way he tried to help the temples grow, the way he tried to uplift the individual devotees, the way he tried as much as possible to get in touch with the class of people in the society. All these things are all simply meant to bring the Krishna consciousness movement to a limelight so that he can proudly associate with such an organization. So he was frustrated in that sense because he's saying that his efforts were not properly yielding results based on various circumstances we cannot analyze here. But the thing is that he had done his part. He had tried his best, he had done his part, and Krishna knows the best for everyone. Krishna knows how much you could actually do in a particular lifetime. Krishna also knows how to push his movement. We have our various ideas in terms of how we can push the movement, but Krishna knows how his movement will grow. So Bali Prabhu was a great personality in the sense that he somehow or the other involved himself and whatever he possesses in trying to serve the devotees. And that is very, very important. Service to the devotees. He did that. But suddenly he was frustrated and he was lonely in the sense that he doesn't have serious associates who could actually even continue his legacies. He couldn't grow people who can actually stand behind him or after he must have left to be able to continue what he has done. You see, so we have lost a great person, and that vacuum will be difficult to actually replace. Very difficult to replace. So Bali Prabhu, he did his best in the circumstances he found himself, and despite the various situations, his family background, he didn't have so much of assistance in the part of the spiritual life. He was standing alone, even in his family, in terms of spirituality. He was standing alone. And then also, his ideas about how to push the movement hardly corresponds to anyone's ideas, especially those in the limelight. So there was always a paradox, a conflicting ideas in terms of how the movement should go. And that was why, just like Srila Varaha Prabhu was saying, there should be some kind of synergy so that results could be achieved. But that was not there. You see, so we can do much to praise Bali Prabhu if we try as much as possible to assist in the level of pushing the movement to come to the limelight in the society, to make the movement become very much recognized, to be in the mainstream of the society. As long as the movement remains down there, not being recognized seriously as an indigenous movement that could be accepted as indigenous, we cannot really push this movement anywhere. So as much as possible, that is the legacy he wanted to leave behind, to see that Krishna consciousness is acceptable in a society that we will find ourselves. So we should, as much as possible, help in this regard to try to preach Krishna consciousness in such a way that it becomes part of our society, not to be seen as a foreign Indian thing in our society. This area we have to think about. Krishna knows how the movement is going to start. Krishna also knows how to expand his mission. And therefore, every devotee must seriously pray, very seriously pray that Krishna should help us expand the mission in our environment, in our own locality. Krishna should help us expand the mission. We cannot do it on our own. Despite the resources we have, despite whatever that we have, we can't do it on our own. Krishna's movement grows by Krishna's own makings. Only that we have to make ourselves available to be used. We have to make ourselves available for Krishna's manifestation of his will. So Bali Prabhu tried in that aspect, but we can properly glorify him if we continue the legacy, especially in trying to see that Krishna consciousness becomes acceptable in our society. Without being accepted in our society, we cannot really make any serious advancement in terms of helping people to come out of their situations.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. All right. All glories to Bali Prabhu. All glories to the devotees.
Thank you very much, Nakia Pandit Prabhu, for that wonderful rendition and tribute to Grace Bali Prabhu. Let me use this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of Prabhu Bali's family members who are on this platform. Sister Bumi, we really greatly appreciate your being here. It means a whole lot to us. Thank you very much for being here. Sister Esther Rosidi, you can see your picture. Okay, I think the picture's on. So we really appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much for giving us your presence. We really appreciate you. And you know, the test of a whole meal is said to be tested from a grain of that meal. And Bali Prabhu's contribution has shown us that the family of Roshiji are just special people. Thank you very much for being here. I'll continue. I don't know how much time we can, how many we can still accommodate within the scope of time that we have for this program. Is Grace Rivers Bonachari informed is using Dr. Lonson's phone to connect, because the other connection is giving a whole lot of background of noise. So we'll call on Rivers Bonachari to please kindly unmute and give his tribute to Great Bali today.
Hare Krishna. Amagyana Tamaradasya Gyanan Ganashala Kaya Shakshuramalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manomistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Prakala Mayam Dalat Swapalantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paritanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Sarvai Tagrarahar Shiva Sadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, my obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are on this platform, hearing the memorials of our dear brother and friend, Prabhu'S. Actually, it is a very painful situation to speak about Bali because his contribution to the society in West Africa is irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. It cannot be replaced. His loss to the society in West Africa is irreplaceable. He cannot be replaced. Bali is someone I have known from the very beginning of his participation in Krishna consciousness. Prabhu'S was sent to England to study, and he became attracted to Krishna consciousness. When his father learned that he was associating with devotees in the UK, the father decided to bring him to Nigeria. And because the father did not want him to associate with devotees, Bali Prabhu was sent to Auchi Polytechnic, where he was studying his art skills. But somehow the other devotees went to Auchi, and Bali met the devotees, and they directed him to the temple in Benin. So Bali traced the devotees, traced the temple, and met the devotees in Benin. But he was conscious of the fact that if he has to join in Benin, his father would trace him out. So at that time, Anadini Prabhu was in charge of the Benin temple. And so he was advised to come to Ibadan, but then I was in charge of the Ibadan temple. And so Bali landed in Ibadan in 1985. And from the very moment Bali arrived in the temple, until I left that temple, it was very clear that he is a devotee from his previous life. There was no two ways about it. With his skills in art and with his dedication to the Krishna Bhakti process, it was very easy to understand his commitment to Krishna consciousness. At that time, the Ibadan temple was under renovation. We had just rented a property in Ibadan near the Agowo shopping complex, which was directly opposite the University of Ibadan. And that was a very wonderful location because it gave us a lot of opportunity to preach to the University of Ibadan, the professors, the students, and to the people who attended the Agowo shopping complex. And Bali played a very, very crucial role in Ibadan. In fact, as Vana Prabhu mentioned, his father was looking for him everywhere because the father went to the university in Auchi and he was nowhere to be found. The father went to the Hare Krishna temple in Benin and Bali was not there. So it took him several months to find out where his son, Balaji, was. So eventually he got the information that Bali was in Ibadan. So one morning, Saturday morning, Bali's father drove into the temple compound in his Mercedes 450C. And at that time, Bali was just outside the compound. He was outside the building, he was in the compound. And the father saw him. So immediately he called. What are you doing here? I sent you to study. Is that what you are doing here? Show me your sleeping place. A brahmachari in ashram. What kind of sleeping place does he have? So Balidas took the father upstairs. We had just 2 rooms upstairs for the brahmacharis. He took the father upstairs, and in the room there was no bed, not even a mat. It was a bare floor. So Balidas showed the father, this is where I sleep. And the father was very angry. I was behind, I was following them. When he called him up, I followed him up. He said, you are disgracing our family. We come from a prestigious family. We come from a very wealthy family, a very influential family, a family to reckon with in Nigeria. And look at where you are sleeping on the floor. It's a disgrace to me. And he said, you should make a decision now, take a decision now. Either you come with me back home or I reject you. And many devotees at that time, we had all come around. Many devotees had come around to listen to the conversation between Bali and his father. And everyone was shocked. The answer Bali gave to the father. He said, Daddy, I have already decided that I want to go with the Hare Krishnas. And that is why I am here. So the father said, so you want to say that you don't belong to me, you don't belong to the family anymore, you want to belong to the Hare Krishna movement? And Bali said, Daddy, that is what I've decided. I'm not going anywhere, I'm going to stay here. So the father was so angry, he zoomed out of the room, zoomed into his car, and zoomed out of the compound and said, I disown you. So just see his level of detachment. Here is his father, a former minister in the Nigerian government, finance minister for that matter, who has all the wealth. He has factories in Brazil, factories in UK, factories everywhere around the world, and many factories in Nigeria. I know some of his factories. Chandrasekhar Prabhu used to be the security officer for some of his factories, and I used to visit some of those factories. And Balidas renounced all that just because he wanted to be a devotee. So the father was angry and he drove off. So I did not, in fact, he helped us in the decorations, in the paintings, in all the artwork of the temple. He used to go on Sankirtan, he shaved his head, he was in saffron clothes, and he was a powerful preacher, a powerful book distributor. He used to go to university, he was preaching to many students. He did so many wonderful things in the temple in Ibadan. Then shortly after that, I was transferred to Lagos to head the Lagos temple. And he was in Ibadan. That was then Varaha Prabhu took over from me. He went to Ibadan, and I think the father came the second time with the mother to try to convince him to leave the temple. Then, after a year in Lagos, there was some crisis in Wari temple, and I was sent to Wari to rectify the situation there. And as soon as Bali heard I was in Wari, he left the Ibadan temple and he joined me in Wari. And the same mood, Bali will not even sleep. In fact, it is important to mention that the deities, the Jagannath deities in Ibadan were carved by Bali. That was his first wonderful service to the society. He carved those deities. Those deities we have in the Ibadan temple were carved by Bali. Then he came to Wari, and in Wari, Bali would not sleep. He will work all day, he will work all night, painting, decorating, carving, and so on. The Vyasasan that is being used in Benin right now, it is Bali's handwork. Indradumina Prabhu did the carpentry work, and Bali did the carving work. And the Jagannath deities that are being used in Benin were carved by Bali Prabhu. And the golden Nitai deities, there are fiberglass golden Nitai deities that are on the altar in Benin, were produced by Bali Das Prabhu. So we can see the caliber of a devotee that he was. Making deities, preaching to important people, painting the temple, decorating. He wouldn't sleep all day, all night. Bali was absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And I used to worry about his health. I used to say, Prabhu, you're not sleeping. It will affect you. Bali said, don't worry. I am enjoying my service. I am relishing my service, so why should I sleep? Later on, Bali Prabhu, he got back to his father. When the father left out his name in his will because Bali said he wanted to be a devotee. So the father did not include his name in the will. He renounced him. But when the father became terminally ill, all his sons were busy with their different jobs, different managerial duties, and nobody was caring for their father. It was then Bali Prabhu took up the service to his father. He went home, he stayed with the father, he was bathing the father, he was feeding the father, and he was playing Prabhupada lectures and Prabhupada chanting for the father to hear. So the very thing the father was against in the beginning, he benefited from it at the end. And he recognized it. At some point before he passed away, he said, my dear boy, I did not understand what you were doing. You were doing the right thing. Right now, I can see that you are the only one who cares for me. The rest of my children, they are all busy with their different things and they don't even bother about me. But now you are with me. So he called his lawyer. The father called his lawyer and said, I had left out this boy's name in my will. I want to include his name in the will now, before I will pass away. And that is how Bali's name was added to the will. And then he got some properties from the father before the father passed away. So when the father passed away and then gave him some wealth, Bali did not think of how he would enjoy the wealth. The first thing that came to his mind was how he can utilize that wealth in promoting Krishna consciousness. And we all know what Bali Prabhu did. He bought 8 vans for all the temples in Nigeria. He did many things. And then in 2015, he started his Harinam throughout West Africa. He sponsored many devotees. He gave gifts, buses to different temples, fridges, generators, and whatnot, cash, and so many things he did just to promote the Harinam program in West Africa. And the end result was that 35 devotees, Bali sponsored their trip to India, and he took them around in India. I so happened to be party to that arrangement. We received the devotees in Calcutta. We took them to Mayapur. We arranged the accommodation. And from Mayapur, we went with him through the Ganga Safari with Jayapalaka Maharaj. And then we ended up in Vrindavan. And from Vrindavan, we went to Ujjain for the Kumbh Mela. Then we came to Bombay. And then from Bombay, we sent everybody back to West Africa. And all that expenditure was borne by Bali Prabhu. In fact, 2 weeks before his ailment that took his life, Bali Prabhu called me and said, Prabhu, I have relaunched my Gorapad program and we have started producing certain things in the house. We want to take Gorapad to a very high level so that we can make enough money. I want to go global with the Harinam party. So Prabhu, and I want you to be part of this global movement. I said, Prabhu, whatever you want me to do, I am available. So he said he was going to call me in 2 weeks, and then we can have a complete program discussion and all that. The 2 weeks did not reach, and then we got the information that he was sick. And then a few days we heard he was gone. So actually, the passing away of Bali is a great loss to the West African Yatra. It is a great loss to the African Yatra. It is a great loss to the whole of ISKCON. In 2016, he brought his Gorapad products to the GBC meeting. We arranged all the GBC members. They received gifts from Balidas Prabhu at the GBC conference center in Mayapur. And they all appreciated his alternative healthcare products. And they were looking forward to more of those things. And then many devotees across the globe, in Brazil, in Russia, in India, in many places, he has already formed his Harinam groups, and he was supporting them. In fact, he sponsored about 12 devotees from Brazil, 12 devotees from Argentina. They came just as he sponsored the devotees from West Africa, and he was planning a global Harinam program. But Krishna knows best. He has been called. Balidas might have passed away, but his glory will go on. And that is why Srila Vinod Thakur says, he who thinks that a Vaishnava dies, he is thinking ill. For a Vaishnava dies to live on in his words, in his preaching, in his activities. So Balidas Prabhu might have disappeared physically from our presence, but the contribution that he has made in the world will continue to go on. And on this note, we say adieu, our dear friend, our dear brother. May Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, may Lord Nityananda Prabhu, may they give you a very tight embrace, and may they take you back home, back to Godhead. And if they want you to continue with your global program as you have desired, may they empower you more and more and more so that you will do much more than you've done. Thank you, Bali. I love your association and I miss your association. Balidas Prabhu Ki Jai.
Grace, thank you very much for the wonderful first time sharing of His Grace Bali Prabhu. It was such a wonderful experience that we had from that narration. It's like you should continue. Actually, there is a saying that in the whole of existence, there is only one reality, God. There is only one reality, activities of serving God. And the only reality gift in the world is to give God consciousness to everyone. Bali Prabhu fulfilled this. And I'll quote one of the world-renowned scholars, what he said on the 14th, when we're doing the memorial service for Bali Prabhu. His Holiness Bhaktidas Damodar Swami mentioned something. He said, this book, Bhagavad Gita, is the brain, it is the basis for the whole of the activities of Bali that we're glorifying today. And I'll quote one famous philosopher and educationist, what he said about the Gita. I'm talking in terms of the person of Dr. Elwin Powell. Dr. Elwin Powell says, if truth is what was, as pierced and the fragment insist, there must be a kind of truth in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Since those who follow its teachings display a joyous serenity, usually missing in the bleak and stringent life of contemporary people. This is what Powell said about the Bhagavad Gita. In other words, the essence of every human life is God, and the essence of any activities anyone can do is God. Bali Prabhu's life, from all we've been hearing, dedicated his life to this one cause of dedicating his life to God and assisting others to take that cause of giving their life to God. God, in his great mercy, I know, is very pleased with his life. Time is fast spent. We intended to have this program for 2 hours, and I have still over 20 devotees who are wishing and eager to speak about Bali Prabhu. And then, like I said, if we dedicate a whole 1 month every day, 2 hours, to speak about Bali, we can never exhaust the glories of his contribution to the service to God and humanity. I don't know. Maybe probably we'll spend another 10, 15 minutes before we round up the program. I want to request, I have still a lot of list of names here. And please, I want to request everyone that I'll be calling from now, please let us, I know we have a lot to say about Bali today, but let us try to summarize it in few sentences so that as many as possible can be accommodated before we close this section. Thank you very much. On this note, I will call on His Grace, Atmaram Prabhu, who is also one of the very, very close associates of Bali Prabhu during his Krishna conscious life. Atmaram Prabhu, please kindly unmute and let's hear your contribution.
Pranams of the devotees. I'll be very, very brief. Just to say that this is actually a very, very wonderful experience, hearing the glories of the devotee. And I'll be very brief because what Bali has done is something which is self-evident to all those who knew him. But I think one of the things that I was meditating on is what does it mean for us, for me personally, and for us over the years of associating with what I would call a Mahabhagwat, like Bali. Mahabhagwat in the sense that, like his namesake, we saw that he offered everything in the service of the Lord. He gave everything, as we heard from Prabhu'S Prabhu and other senior devotees from the beginning. Whatever assets he had, he, his skills. In fact, that's how I first knew him, playing a tabla, and singing like very, very melodiously. He used everything in the service of the Lord. And I think that's one lesson for all of us, the actual that we are meant to use everything we have in the service of the Lord, whatever resources we have, whatever assets we have. Another thing about Bali Prabhu over the years with him is that he never ever criticized anyone. And I'm sure many of you would agree. All the times we are saying he doesn't criticize anyone even, what speak of non-devotees, what we call non-devotees, or devotees especially, was very, very respectful for devotees. And even then, there may be something which you may not like about a devotee. You always try and look at the positive side. He was the supreme optimist, always positive. And I think that's one thing individually I always caught from him, that not criticizing anybody. And if we must find some error or faults, also look at the positive side. Another thing which has been alluded to is the aspect of the innovation, because that was always what used to bring us together. Over 20 years ago, when we came together, he brought us Mother Lalita then himself and said we should start something innovative. Like we're talking about the frustration with regard to preaching God consciousness in West Africa. And we're thinking of various things like IFAST, model. When in the end, he ended up having the temple in Apapa, which was a different trajectory, but it was all for spreading God consciousness. So he was always thinking innovatively till the very end, and throughout his default position is thinking about how best to spread God consciousness and the holy name. And that's what continued to be with him throughout, even when he was not well. And in fact, that's another thing, that for himself, he was always dismissive. He tolerated a lot of things. He didn't want to go to the hospital, even till the end. He was very adverse to going to the hospital for himself. But even till the end, even this year, he was still concerned about devotees and was still making sure that devotees were going to the hospital, were getting care. So I think that's something we need to take up a legacy, that of devotee care, caring for each other, not criticizing others. If we can do this, this alone is the greatest legacy to our dear brother, Bali Prabhu. Bali Das Prabhu, okay, Jai.
Thank you very much, Asparam Prabhu, for this brief and content giving tribute to his great Bali Prabhu. Thank you very much. I know that if given the time, we cannot talk for the next 3 hours because so many activities are there. And actually, we have been having male devotees. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, we understand the living entity is not this physical body. We are all, we are spirit souls. And then we are just occupying different kind of bodies to accommodate the service we have to do. But to be gender sensitive, I've been calling on male devotees to speak about Bali Prabhu. So I want to give room to 2 mothers, then I will continue with the male devotees if time permits us. I'm getting a suggestion from the platform here that we can do this for another 2-3 Sundays, maybe even a bit shorter than today's own, so that we can accommodate more devotees to excuse me, speak about Bali Prabhu. So I want to call on Mother Jeshwari. She's actually right there on the screen and ready, eager to speak about Bali Prabhu. We all have had wonderful association with Bali Prabhu. Mother Jeshwari, David Darcy, please kindly go ahead and share your tribute to his great Bali Prabhu. Mother Jeshwari. Can you hear me, Mother Jeshwari? Mother Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Mother Jeshwari.
Haribol.
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead and give your tribute. You are muted. You are muted. Unmute yourself. Please can you unmute? You are muted. Please can you unmute? Yeah, okay, you can go ahead now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, we can hear you.
All the assembly of devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Prabhu Balidas. All glories to the assembly of devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, is hearing me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, my life as a Vaishnava, especially since I moved into Lagos to join other Vaishnavas from the East. It's a continuous testimony, which I will always mention the name of Balaji Rosiji Prabhu Bali. Because right from the onset, when I came to Lagos with my family, because where we are in Indonesia, I think we are the only family there, devotee family in Indonesia. So to get association, we used to travel either to Benin Temple, to Enugu, or maybe to Port Harcourt. But coming to Lagos, we are now in the midst of devotees. But the first encounter I had with Balaji Rosiji Prabhu Bali was when Maharaj Vididi Swamiji took me to his office in Apapa. After discussing with him, he said that he's going to use me because he heard when I come up to Lagos with my family, that I'm going to be in charge of food for life distribution. Knowledge I have about devotional service at that time, he used to have programs with P-Man, Charlie Boy, and the rest of them. You know, our own program as devotees is always different from P-Man's program. So one day I told him, I don't feel comfortable, you know, in the service during P-Man's occasion. He said, don't look at P-Man, don't look at the guests. You just have to grab every opportunity that you have to do food for life for Lord Goranga. After all, if you are feeding the non-devotee, it's more beneficial because he believes that food for life preaches faster and deeper than even the word preaching. it goes faster. And it breaks barrier because everybody who is hungry can take a pack of prasad from you and eat. So not even knowing what it is actually. They just believe it's just like ordinary food. He said, not be uncomfortable because of people around you or who is hosting the program or whatever it is. Just take that opportunity to serve Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So after speaking with him, I felt very comfortable, like he said. So in every program they arranged that time he wasn't the P-man present. But we used to attend all their programs because of his friend, Charles Okuta, Shalibor. So I used to organize big cooking in Apapa those days, and we carry to different venues where they are doing things. I know even at that such programs, what we call them Kami program. But after speaking to us the way that he used to do, all of us will become comfortable. Again, I remember another incident in Apapa when I was taking care of the deities. Ganga Prasad Das is our HOD. So during the time of laying the deities to rest, P-man people, the band, Gauranga band, they will start playing this kind, music like Osadebe, Oliver the Cook. I don't feel comfortable with that. So I would always complain to him. If they must play music, Prabhuji, let them play devotional music. He said, but they don't know that. They are playing what they know. So if devotees can train them to sing devotional bhajans, I think they can do that during that time. So I thank God with the help of Rati Manjari, Prabhu Ganga's wife, he taught them few of our devotional bhajans, which the Gauranga Foundation Band began to play anytime that we are putting the deity to rest in the afternoon. And it was so wonderful. You see, I'm just trying to say, he doesn't see things the way most of the people do, especially like me, who is not a very good devotee, I can say that. But he always sees Krishna in everything, in anything. And he tried to use every opportunity he gets to serve Krishna and to serve everybody. Because naturally, he's a very, very merciful person. He thinks about others before himself. He's just trying to use every opportunity to reach out to people, to give out to people. He's not just giving out in a material sense only, but also in devotional aspect of it. So like that, when I was there in a Gorapad Foundation, I can tell you that my devotional service become, I was growing up fast and grabbing things fast, because with him and Ganga Prasad, I just learned so many things that I wouldn't even have think that is devotional in my life. So then personally, when I moved in, things wasn't that okay because of relocation and things like that, especially in Lagos that time. But you just be serious. See that Gauranga will take care. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yeah, we're hearing you, but please, if you can round off because of time constraint.
Should I continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah, if you can round off, because of time, you can round off. 30 seconds more. Can you hear me? You have 30 seconds more to speak.
You said?
Can you round off? Round off.
Okay, I should be rounding up.
Yeah, please.
Okay, Prabhuji. So, being in his company as a Vaishnava, I begin to learn so many things from his life, especially the way he carry others along in devotional service. After the Food for Life, he now inaugurated the Sankirtan movement, which is the whole thing, the hub of everything he is doing in devotional service. He carry everybody along. Whether you just enter the temple that day, you will just carry character and follow others. You'll be singing, you'll be dancing on the street. He made everybody join. He doesn't discriminate who will chant the mantra or who will not follow. So the love he shows to people, especially to me and my family and the other devotees, it just enables you to become a better devotee, enables you to, have a U-turn in your life, and it enables you to see things in the right perspective. Forever, I will be very, very grateful to him because he kind of take my devotional life to the next level where I don't even think that it was practicable before him. So I thank God for meeting him in my life. And even now that he is gone from our own physical presence, I will always, every day, remember one word from him or actions from him that will always encourage me in my devotional service. Because actually, he is a kind of a person to look up to in devotional service. Hare Krishna, I will stop so far here. Hare Bo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Dear devotees, it is 10 minutes after 4. This program was supposed to be for 2 hours. We already exhausted 2 hours. And I know there are so many devotees still waiting to speak. And based on the suggestion I'm having on the platform, and considering that we have guests with us on this program, we don't want it to continue. I know for devotees, we wouldn't mind if we continue till the next 3 hours. But because we have kept a specific time for this program, I'm appealing to everyone to please give us extra 20 minutes. By 4:30, we'll close this session, and then we can continue in some other days. There is no end to how much we can glorify Bali Prabhu's contribution to ISKCON movement. So within these 20 minutes, I want to call for devotees and I please request, please, I know that you have a lot to speak, but please keep to 3 to maximum of 5 minutes so that we can accommodate the next 4 persons that I have in mind to call. There are so many devotees. Thank you very much. On this note, I want to call on His Grace Chandrasekhara Prabhu. Chandrasekhara Prabhu is one of the founding members of ISKCON. In the beginning days, he was one of the first devotees that joined the Hare movement in Nigeria before it spread to other parts of the West African countries. He's one of our very most senior persons, and he knew Bali just like one knows the line on his palm. Chandrasekhara Prabhu, please kindly unmute and then share your figures with Bali Prabhu. Chandrasekhara Prabhu. And Ganga Prashad Prabhu, please kindly be on the standby. Ganga Prashad Prabhu, please stay on the standby. Chandrasekhara Prabhu. Is Chandrasekhara Prabhu there? Okay, if Chandrasekhara Prabhu is not ready, Ganga Prashad Prabhu, please kindly unmute and give us a feeling. Ganga Prashad Prabhu.
Vancha kalpataru vyasya kripa sindhu vyaivacha patitanam pavanambeyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Bali Maharaj Das ki jai ho. I will not want to say too much because Bali's pastimes are inexhaustible. I will just give precision of my inside feelings. The first thing is that I am very, very grateful that I met somebody like Bali Maharaj Das. And from Narad Bhakti Sutra, chapter 3, text 39, he said that the association of great soul is rarely obtained, difficult to understand, and infallible. So it is out of good fortune. He said, Brahmananda Brahmeti Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhaya Bhakti Lata Bij. So it's out of good fortune that I met Bali, and all of my interaction with Bali has impressed on me like samskara, what I can carry along in this life and in future lives also. And the same is applicable for everybody. And the second point is that for the role Bali has played, there is no regret. Bali has not gone. Bali is still here with all the relics of the activity he performed. So we should only key into the experiences we have with him and be able to use it to foster the Krishna consciousness movement and our own devotional life. Because what he did is what he said in Bhagavad Gita 3:21. Yadyada charati stresa, tata deva taro janam, sadyat paraman kurute, lokastat anuvatate. Whatever action a great man perform, common men follow. Bali have set a very high standard of what one could do for devotional service in a lifetime. So all we need to do is just cue into it the much we can with the capacity we have. And even if we don't exhaust all in this lifetime, in subsequent life, we can still take advantage and continue for it. That's why I use the word samskara. It's an impression, indelible impression made in our subconscious, and it will be very, very relevant for us. So we may not think that things have gone rightly. We have not appreciated Bali sufficiently. Yes, a prophet is not acceptable in his own country. So we may have minimized him, but in the purport of this same Narad Bhakti Sutra, Prabhupada mentioned, if anybody has the opportunity to read, Narad Bhakti Sutra 339, Prabhupada mentioned that many great stalwart and empowered devotees of God, they are prosecuted, they are denied. And he gave an example. Haridas Thakur was one, Nityananda is another one like that, Prahlad like that. So whatever Bali has experienced is of no consequence because he was caught out for something and he did whatever he's supposed to do. And I'm very happy in my heart of hearts that I met him, one, and two weeks before his demise, Bali had called me and we spoke in appreciation of each other in exchange. And it was not palatable when I heard that he was going to the theater and left the body, but inside me, I'm very happy for him. Why? All the tribulations of physical experience that he's having has come to an end. And also the benefit of whatever he has done in this lifetime, they are there waiting for him to enjoy. And I will sound this clearly to all the devotees forum in West Africa and also his immediate family that Bali have set, like Jesus said, I go to make a place for you. Bali have set a very great platform for every one of us to benefit. Whether we're able to do it or not, Krishna, because of his design for us, we continue what Bali has done and we'll be able to see that Krishna consciousness grows. After all, Bhakti Tita Swami said that this Krishna consciousness movement will flourish. The only irony is, will you be there when this happens? And so Bali has given us an indicator that this could happen and it will still continue. We may not know how it's going to happen. That is Krishna's prerogative. So I congratulate the family members of Bolajiro CG that you produce such a great personality from your family and you all stand to benefit from it. And the devotee forum also, you are fortunate that you were able to encounter such a personality, and let us just be joyful. Nobody should be despondent or morose. We should be happy that in this lifetime, we're able to meet somebody like this and we're able to see that devotional service is not just theory, it is practicable, it is possible, it is doable. So I like to end here in appreciating Bali Maharaj Das. Bali Maharaj Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for taking the time. Like I said, if I did not call your name, please do not be slighted or offended. It is because of constraints of time, and we have to keep the time. Arishakra Prabhu is on this platform. I want to go from India to US now. I know there are so many devotees in Nigeria who have not called. So many devotees in West Africa have not called. But Arishakra Prabhu is one of our senior brothers who is of the Ghana birth, but is in the United States. I want to give opportunity to him now to speak. Then I'll call one more mother and another one to before we run this off, hopefully, before the 4:30 time. Arishakra Prabhu, please kindly unmute and say your tribute to Bali Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhu Padaya Shitat Manishi Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namini. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gora Vari Pracharini Nirvashesha Sunya Vari Pashatari Satari Vanchakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Ivacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to say something small about Bali Prabhu. We realize that Srila Bhakti Swami used to say that the best way to honor someone is to make sure we propagate his legacy, the person's legacy, because once we are able to propagate the person's legacy, that is the best way to honor that person. So we all could see, and I could hear from all these, even though I didn't have much interaction with Bali, I think in my whole devotional life, I met him once. And but hearing from what the devotees are saying and hearing from what I personally also heard from other places, the Sankirtan, the Harinam project that he initiated, we all could say that he's really a great devotee. So my little contribution that I can give is that all of us should make it as a point to make sure we continue with his legacy. And by trying to continue with his legacy, then we are actually putting ourselves in the position to really honor him and glorify him as a devotee. So that legacy of trying to promote Krishna consciousness to the highest degree, promoting Krishna consciousness to the level where the elite class of people will be, appreciative of Krishna consciousness. We should all put our efforts and our heads together to make sure we are able to bring Krishna consciousness to this level. And in that way, West Africa, we will be honoring Bali as he's supposed to be. Thank you very much. And I appreciate all the effort that you guys are putting together. And let's put our heads and glorify Bali as such. Bali Maharaj Ki Jai.
Salika, you are not audible.
Sorry. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Abhishek Prabhu, for your contribution. Gogo Prabhu, please be on the standby before Gogo Prabhu probably will be the last speaker, and this appropriate is important because is Vali's junior brother, though they are not biological brother, but when you look at it, will be difficult for you to say he's not his blood brother, they're so close. But before Prabhu speak, I want to call on Mother. I promised to call another Mother. I want to call Mother Rati. Actually, I want to call Mother Imavati. Mother Imavati is one devotee that was very close to Bali, and I'm not seeing her here. I don't know whether she's saying any other name. But since I'm not seeing her, I want to call Mother Rati. Mother Rati, please kindly unmute and give your contribution to the people to Prabhu Bali. Mother Rati Devi. Mother Rati, are you there? Hare Krishna. Yes.
That contributed in making this program a successful one. And also, I thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak. Prabhu Bali was a great soul. He they had a great plan. I'm sure all of you know that. Hello? Hello? Are you hearing me, Prabhu?
Yeah, there is a background noise. We can hear you though.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'm saying I really appreciate everyone for anyone who contributed in making this program a successful one, and also giving me the opportunity to speak for Bali, for devotees, for every one of us. He personal life, a standard life. He tried to empower every one of us, both financially and otherwise. Even the Kamis also. When he started the Goranga Foundation, he brought in a lot of devotees and he empowered them. Even the Kamis also. He wanted to give us a life that, you know, we'll be able to appreciate Krishna consciousness the more. He exposed most of us. Even to the Kamis, he did the same. When he started Goranga Foundation, then he migrated to Gorapad as Gorapad Charity. From there, many devotees got involved. Both married and unmarried, they got involved in the program. And we even went to the lesson of going to Ghana to establish an office there. He transported everybody there and he made sure that we were all well dressed, properly dressed, because of the kind of people we are meeting out there, the dignitaries. And he wanted us to come out, you know, not just because you are a devotee and Krishna servant or devotee, you have to look, you know, dirty, you have to look and timid. He tried to give us the kind of life that when we meet with people, they will appreciate Krishna consciousness. Many devotees, both here and in Ghana, got involved in it. I remember when he started the Gorapad charity here, he called me and said, Rati, don't you think we should get involved in this? I know you can do it. No problem, how will I do it? Doing networking and doing Krishna consciousness preaching work. He said you can do it, that there's no hard and fast rule in doing it. I said, well, I will give it a shot. So he also told Prabhu about it, and Prabhu said, okay, let's try it and see. We did try it and it worked. Even though at the stage, the program was not really going on again, but we didn't give up. We're still going to him and it was okay. We made suggestion that all the products, all the companies that were coming in contact with that product, we're charging Goranga because of Gorapad. Everybody asking of Gorapad, that we are all chanting Gorapad. And we all know that we all know the meaning of Gorapad, one of the little seed of Goranga. Even in my street here, they call Madam Gorapad. They call me Madam Gorapad because I was telling it to them, they love it. It was working, you know. So then, I think one of the, just 2 weeks before he passed away, he called me. He told me that he had that there was a little problem at the problem. I just told him where Prabhu, I don't have anything to say, but I will give you Prabhu's number to call. That was when he called Prabhu. Then he also mentioned the Vaishnava retreat. That he's planning to do something Vaishnava retreat. We know the kind of standard we want to see, that this life beyond just what we are saying, just saying in temple and chanting. It's okay, but because of the caliber of people we want to preach to out there, we wanted us to see life beyond what we are just into. So he was planning that when he's planning something better than that. I said, well, probably it's good. But I learned that you're not feeling fine. Why not take up your health care? He said he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. It's okay. He said I should give him Prabhu's contact, which I did. Then luckily for me, I had my last son in his temple, and we named him Bakura Bhakta, because he was so fond of Goranga. He was so fond of Gora Nitai, everything about him, Goranga Foundation, Gora Pad, everything about him was just Goranga. So when we gave birth to that boy, we named him Gora Bhakta, because it was from that temple we had him. So he tried to encourage him.
Thank you very much, Mother. Thank you very much. We're grateful for your contributions. Sorry, we'll have to stop today now. Thank you, Mother Rati. Very grateful for your contributions. Dear devotees.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mother. Thank you very much for the contribution. Thank you very much for the tribute, for the first time to remember. Thank you. Thank you. Dear devotees, like we kept on repeating, there is not enough time to glorify Bali Prabhu. It's so much. Yeah, it's one personality that has been so much influential in the development of Christian countries in this part of the world.
Hello, Prabhu. Sorry to interject. No, hello, Prabhu. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Prabhu, I can hear you.
My name is Sadashif. Please, how much did it cost to get this Zoom session? What does it cost?
It's not the cost of the Zoom section. We can continue.
No. I want to pay for another 1 week so that next week you can do something similar. I'm happy to see all the devotees I've not seen in years. For me, it's not even about Bali now. It's being happy to see everybody. I am extremely overjoyed and nothing gladdens my heart to see everybody. We all have the same spiritual umbilical cord, and I think we should see more of ourselves and talk some more on how we can, what we're saying about Bali is nice, but I as a person think it would do a lot better if we talk to each other more when we are all alive. We talk to each other. So please, whatever the cost, I just want to know so I'll bear the cost. If we can do this for the next 2-3 months continuously, I don't mind. I'm just happy.
Thank you very much.
Forgive me for my excesses.
Yes, thank you very much.
Maybe we can chat publicly on that and then fix some time. Every week, let's do something, please. Let's talk some more. Let's talk more often. We need to corrigate.
Based on the desire of the devotees,
I'll take on that cost.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Based on your suggestion, another privately to me on the chat room, we will continue. We are not stopping here, but like I have explained before, we are not just body of devotees. We have visitors here, that we have Prabhu's family also here, and then we want to be timely. And we have to stop after the last person that is going to call now. But we will continue. We will make announcement within the week on the platform what time it is going to be the next section like this. We will continue it as devotees desire it to be. We will continue the section until we give as much time as possible to devotees from Brazil, from Europe, all want to speak. So we'll give another time when we come back. But for today, we have to, I'm pleading with devotees, Ekatma Das Prabhu, Basaka Prabhu, Chandrasekhara Prabhu, all of the devotees, I acknowledge your presence. But please, pardon me, I will call on Dora Gopal Prabhu to be the last speaker for this section. And then bear in mind, like I said, we will continue after today's section. Gopal Prabhu, please kindly unmute. Let's hear your contribution so that we can round it up today. Thank you.
Banchakarpatrabhyascha kripa sindhubhevacha Patstiram pavanabhya vaishnave bho namo 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 Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shri Mate Kapichandra Swami Tinamani Namaste Prabhupadantam Harinama Pacharine Gantavitaranam Shishya Gyana His Grace Bali Maharaj Prabhu Ki Jai. Okay, so I with a deep sense of gratitude and profound appreciation, I'd like to thank all the devotees, starting with Maharaj, His Holiness Bhaktisiddhanta Damodar Swami, and Antabomi. She's right here on the platform, Tonti, Auntie Star, and all the wonderful devotees that have spoken about His Grace Bali Maharaj Prabhu. You know, we can, if we had to spend the entire month talking about Bali Prabhu, I mean, we can exhaust how much Bali Prabhu has actually contributed to the Hare Krishna movement in West Africa and to our lives, and you know, personally. Bali Prabhu's life, I'm just going to say, I'm going to speak about his dedication and his love for Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Back in 2008, I was in the UK at the time. He had called me up and he said, you know, we started off this Gauranga Foundation many years ago. And I said, yes. And he said, now it's time for us to take it to the next level. And I asked, you know, what that was. And then he said, we tried everything we could to make sure that the musicians and everyone sings and chants the name of Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Krishna. But I just have an idea now, you know. Everything in the Srimad Bhagavatam or in the scriptures that talk about Nitai Pada, you know, Krishna Pad, Nitai Pada Kamala. But there's no such thing as Gaura Pada, you know, and this is not fair. And I was like, okay, so what do you, and it said, you know, I'm going to revolutionize this old Krishna Pada, Nitai Pada, and now we're going to make it Gaura Pada. And that was where the Gaura Pada was born from, the idea that he wanted to serve the lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and he wanted to chant the holy names of Lord Krishna. And so it was very innovative. And then he created this old alternative medicine, and so that, you know, everybody can actually chant the holy name of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Krishna. And, you know, this is a very smart move, a very intelligent move. You know, Vaishnavas are extremely intelligent, and Bali certainly was one of those intelligent Vaishnavas. And so he had created this platform where everyone can actually chant. So in 2014, in 2014, I had visited Nigeria, and the first thing they said to me is like, I told you many years ago that everyone is going to chant Gaura Pada. Yeah, and he took me to his office in Maryland, Lagos, and, you know, introduced me to everybody and said, oh, this is my brother, you know, we started off many years ago. And that was very interesting. His whole life is just centered around, you know, how to serve Guru and Krishna, how to promote Krishna consciousness. I remember taking him out of the hospital a couple of years ago, and the first thing they said was, we need to go to the temple, you know. So we got to the temple, paid obeisances to the deities, and then we left. While I was driving him back to Papa, he said, oh, you know, we've really missed out a lot in this last few months. You know, we need to spend all of our time and all of our energy just promoting Krishna consciousness. And he started talking about some Jagannath stickers, you know. We need to start putting stickers everywhere with, you know, fusing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath together, you know, so that we could basically give everybody the opportunity to chant Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So it was very innovative. It was very creative. It was just a blessing, such a blessing and an honor to have served Bali Prabhu in whatever capacity that I did, and to have met him in this lifetime. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I know we push for time. I hope we can get some other opportunity in the future to glorify the wonderful activities of Bali Prabhu. And, you know, I really want to appreciate and thank everybody for coming on this platform. And thank the family members, Auntie Esther, Auntie Bomi, and the rest of the family. And, you know, this is really coming from a place of love in our heart, that, you know, Bali Prabhu actually is an exceptional human being. It's an extraordinary devotee. And he has set a standard and a platform for every one of us to pursue and emulate, that whatever it is that we have, we should sacrifice in the service of humanity and in the service of God. We should be proud. You know, I'm extremely proud to be able to call him my brother, my father, my mentor, everything. You know, he meant so much to me. And over the years, we've done a lot of things. One of the things I'm going to say is, one time I told him, why don't you get a bed for yourself? And it was like, oh, I don't have money. And I was like, why? He said, well, all the money I have belongs to Krishna. So if Krishna buys me a bed someday, then I'll sleep on a bed. Otherwise, I'll sleep on the floor. That was the kind of person he was. But he had so much. He would do for others, but he wouldn't do for himself. He had sacrificed everything he had for humanity and to serve humanity and serve Krishna. So I think this is some of the lessons that we need to take from Bali Prabhu, that he gave everything, including himself, to the service of humanity, to the service of God, and to promote the Krishna consciousness movement. So thank you all for coming on this platform. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for giving me the time to be able to say something about his great Bali Maharaj.
Thank you. Go.
It's great Bali Maharaj.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Actually, yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Thank you so much. We're grateful for that rendition. Actually, like everybody has said, when you say Bali, you say service to God, you say service to humanity. That is what he represents. And in fact, so many people have spoken about his major contribution to the movement. But I feel so proud. I feel so proud that when the initiative about buying the vehicles came in
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Sarika, I would like to speak.
Chandrasekhara Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I don't know.
Hare Krishna.
Can you round it up? We will have another Sunday dedicated to this. We will have another Sunday, but because we are not just devoting body in this platform, and we want to be strict with the time. We already spent over 40 minutes above the time.
Are you going somewhere, Prabhu? Are you going somewhere?
I'm not going anywhere, but we have visitors.
Don't want to leave. They can leave at when they were. Let's like Chandrasekhar Prabhu speak something.
Yeah, let's Chandrasekhar Prabhu speak.
Chandrasekhar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Ishwara. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Chandrasekhar Prabhu, you can go ahead. Let's hear you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, and all the devotees, and also especially Sister Bhumi, the senior sister Prabhu Bali, and also Olagide Oladaporosigi, the senior brother. In fact, the only one left alive now. So I would like to start by talking about how Bali is so special, so unique, so exceptional. Bali he joined ISKCON in London while he was still a student there. Then he disappeared from house, and then they have to bundle him from there and take him straight to Congo. And his sister's place. And there he turned everybody to devotees. Then they brought him back to Nigeria and they put him in the Auchi Polytechnic. While they were going, he saw the temple on the left in Bini, then was visiting that temple regularly. At that time, I was the chief security officer to his father's company, Nigeria Distilleries, and many other companies of his father in Nigeria, where his senior brother, Olagide Oladapo, took me to be heading the security department. So Bali, coincidentally, I will be doing Japayal in the morning in the house on a Molade Okomole Atomo Street in Ikeja, around Ogba. And Bali was brought to his senior brother, his late senior brother, Dr. The first son of his father. He was brought there to that man's house, and that house is just behind my own house. So I would be doing Japaya in the morning. I never knew somebody was there. Then, but the security people in that house, I was the one that put them there. So I'll be doing Japaya in the morning, and I will be hearing somebody also doing Japaya. I must stop and look. As I put my head up, Bali also climbed the wall and was looking at me. That's how we met. We never saw each other before. That was the first time we met. Then I now guided him to where we have the temple, then directed him. Then the same day, the next day, he came to join me. He came to the factory, his brother's factory, Nigeria at Sangota. And that's how Bali and I, sometimes the brother will come to the temple, ask, where's my son? Where's my son? Then when the father sees me, he say, oh, you are here also. What are you doing here? So, in fact, Bali and I, we have a lot of things together. So many things brought us together. There was a time when Shakushapa wanted to start festival. It is the same Bali with Mother Madura Lila that was sent to Lagos. At that time, I had become devotee and I was in temple. They were sent to Lagos to do Sankirtan. I was Sankirtan leader. I was the one giving them books. The books Bali was distributing those days. It is fantastic. In fact, I've never seen anybody distributing as much book since that time, since the 80s to today. No one has been able to distribute that amount of book. So then some will say, oh, you just don't go and dump books somewhere. No, Bali, if you follow him and see him the way he preaches, it's out of this world. It's not common. It's not natural. It is beyond this world. Bali has always had very high vision about how Krishna consciousness will go. So I am happy everybody's speaking about Bali today, and I had opportunity to say something small about Bali. Hare Krishna Prabhu'S and Matajis. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, His Grace Chandra Chikara Prabhu Ki Jai. His Grace Bali Prabhu Ki Jai. Thank you very much. Actually, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Actually, as being suggested by the devotees, we're going to have another section to continue the tribute because there are so many devotees who have not been called. Actually, interestingly, I've not called any of the temple presidents in Nigeria or in Ghana or in Togo. They are all on the standby waiting to give their tribute. And we anticipated it's going to be like this because Bali is everybody's first man. So his contribution is, I cannot, there's no word to quantify his contribution to the development of this movement. And the fact that he's just a special soul, it's just a special soul. And I'm happy that I had a lot of interactions with you. I don't have the time to say anything about him personally, but most of the wonderful activities he carried out, we had some kind of brain discussions between myself and him. So, but maybe in the later sessions, I will be able to share some of this, what led to the purchase of the vehicles, how it became the biggest festival we had in West Africa. It came about, the books, importations, and all of that. But maybe some other time will permit me to say all of that. At this point, I want to express deep appreciation on behalf of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness West African region for all of the devotees and friends who have come onto this platform today to give their tribute to His Great Bali Prabhu, Kavi Kanapura Prabhu, and many other devotees who are here who are not able to speak now. I assure you that we will have another section, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions as the time will permit us to accommodate as many devotees as possible. But for today, we have to cut it here, and then we'll give a notification on the platform for the next session of this continuation of the glorification of His Grace Bali Prabhu's contribution. We thank you very much for your time, and we pray that the Lord, whom Bali Prabhu has served very passionately throughout the course of his life, will continue to bestow his shelter upon him wherever he is in continuation of his service to the Lordship. So I want to thank you very much for being here. I want to thank the family of Bali Prabhu, Auntie Bomi, Auntie Esther, and all of the other persons that may be here that I cannot identify. We thank you so much for giving us such a wonderful gem in the person of Bali, Bolaji Rosiji, is such a gem, not only to your family, but to the whole of the world. And then we cannot be appreciative enough for what your family has given to this movement, because at the end, it is actually product, and it shows the kind of high spiritually inclined family that you have for such a great personality to be born in your family, because it doesn't happen by accident. We at least have that much level of knowledge. We thank you very much, everyone, for being here. We thank you very much for giving your contributions. We will give a notification on the next day and time that we'll continue this tribute. Thank you very much, everyone. So we'll round it up today by playing on Prabhu's Bali's music, and then thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Behold.
I am a home, unshackled by the love, yet I'm free just like a dove. I saw high and the feet on me. I am a home, the whole world wants its own. For a million children, oh, give my love is for you, give my love is for you. Take a look at me just like a fantasy. Everything I get is coming back to me. This is no love, love. You're my only love, darling. You are so you are helping on your hands, cause you are grace. I am saying no love. I am saying cause I'm looking for the love. Cause I have to break up from this is no love. I am a believer. I conquer dreadful leaders. I'm the guardian of Africa. I'm a champion. I'm a nation. I am your hope. I will not stand my vote. To corruption, I say no. Your servants are mighty. Your servants are mighty. Take a look at me just like a fantasy. Everything I give is coming back to me. This is no love, love. You're my only love, darling. You are so love. You are helping on your enemies, cause you are grace. I am saying no love, love. I am saying cause I'm looking for the love to share. Cause I have to break up on giant in the sun. This is gonna make you happy. You can't exhaust me. I am your culture. I'm a coach of many colors. This is gonna
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. So on this note, we thank you very much for being here. We'll be stopping here for this section, and then we'll notify